Afternoon and welcome to you all councillors and to the members of the public. I hope the members enjoyed, if you've had the luck to find the teas and coffees, I assure you for the next council meeting we will have them closer at hand. But it is a practice that we wish to continue. A lot of you travel a long way and I think giving you a cup of tea or coffee is the least we can do. I would like to remind you all that this meeting is live on the Council's YouTube channel, and I'd like to just bring up the usual housekeeping. I would like to remind members and officers to stand when they are speaking in the chamber. Can I also please remind members that other than the proposer of a motion, any speeches must be limited to 3 minutes and directed to the item or question under discussion. Please may I remind members, officers, including the press and public that are in attendance today that all mobile phones should be either in silent mode or switched off, and no calls should be made or received in the chamber during this meeting. Lastly, members will have seen a note from the Director of Law and Corporate Governance concerning our meeting. And something is happening tomorrow, which I think we all know about. Tomorrow's election. Although we can't ignore what's going to happen tomorrow, this meeting should still go ahead as it is in our planned calendar. And I know this might come as a surprise to some of you that the public probably won't change their view on how they're going to vote with what you say today. So if we can keep it to the business in hand, please. I know that might come as a bit of a shock to some members. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. I have so far Councillors Jeff Watson, Councillor Angie Scott, Councillor Cliff Humphreys and Councillor David Towns. Do I have any more? Councillor Dickinson.
Oh, Councillor Simpson, Chair.
Yes.
Councillor Ferris-Aiken.
Thank you. Have we all got all those? Sorry for wrong. I didn't, with Councillor Patterson as well. Are there any more apologies? Thank you for that. Agenda item number 2 is the minutes of the last meeting of the County Council held on the 1st of May 2024, which have all been circulated. These are to be confirmed as a true record. Agreed. Proposer, Councillor Reid. Seconder, Councillor Wearmouth. Item agenda number 3, disclosures of members' interest. Does any member have any interest to declare that have not already been declared to the monitoring officer before this meeting? I don't see any. Item agenda number 4, announcements by the chair and leader or head of paid services. I have just 2 or 3 short announcements, and I think the leader, Councillor Sanderson, will be saying something later in the agenda. I'm delighted to announce that 2 of the King's Birthday Honours Awards went to 2 people who were connected with Northumberland, both from Ponteland. Mr. Martin Laylaw of Ponteland was awarded an OBE for his services to ports, to maritime and to offshore energy industry, and he is also the Chief Executive of Port of Blyth. Congratulations. Ms. Deborah Wise of Ponteland, as I say also, was awarded an MBE for services to education as Executive Head Teacher of Wise Academy. So congratulations to those 2 people, residents of Northumberland, and I'm sure their families are very proud of them. Over the past 4 or 5 weeks, I've attended quite a few civic events, which I won't go into any detail about, apart from 3, which I think are very important. Here we had Local Community Heroes, which was a chance for all councillors to nominate a hero, and I think we had 17 from all over the county. It was a fantastic day here. They were presented with a certificate by the Lord Lieutenant, and it was really just to say thank you from the council, from Northumberland County Council, to people who go beyond the normal duties. And it was a lovely day, and obviously they're all very proud of the certificate they got. The other one was quite similar, which was Love Northumberland, which was held up at Alnwick Gardens. The Duchess very kindly presented the awards. Anna Foster from the BBC presented all the different awards. Again, it was a wonderful day, and many of you were there, and many of you nominated schools and different groups. But it was excellent to see so many schools there, and they were all left for awards which they had won, and it's mainly sort of green efforts that they were doing, and they are our future, so it was fantastic to see them come out with so many great ideas. Again, a lovely day, and thank you to the Duchess for giving her time as ever on that. And the third one, last but no means least, which we can't forget, was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, which was held at Blythe Beach. And thanks to all the staff from Northumberland County Council who organised it. It was a memorable day. It was freezing cold, blowing wind, I think very like the D-Day itself. But it was well attended by councillors and the crowd stayed even though it was very, very cold. We had excellent entertainment, some wonderful speeches, and it was just a wonderful way to mark the bravery and sacrifice of so many people. So thank you all for attending, and to the public for attending that as well. It was an excellent event. Agenda number 5 on public questions. We haven't received any questions from the public. Agenda item number 6, questions. 2 questions have been withdrawn from Councillor Taylor and Councillor Chicken, so we have 5 questions now to be submitted. We obviously have 20 minutes for these questions, so we'd like to get all questions in, so if you can be as brief and succinct with your questions, and if you have any follow-up questions. And the first question is... Thank you. From Councillor Castle.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. Lindisfarne Community Centre, Alnwick, is developing into a very valued combination of facilities for the town, and it's an excellent community project from the council. We got this one right, we have. It's a good project in Alnwick and much valued. But adjoining the centre is a large field formerly used as playing fields by the school and still owned by the county council. At a site visit with officers last month, an exploratory one, it was clear that there was enormous potential to develop the field as a community park with seats, paths and trees and 3 possible points of access for the public. Would the council please consider adding this as an option to the Parks and Open Spaces policy and designing a proposal that can go to public consultation as soon as possible? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Castle. And that question is directed to Councillor Sanderson, the leader.
Thank you very much for your question. It is one of the achievements I'm particularly proud of, that this council has spent much more money on its parks enhancement programme, on its new environment policy where we have allocated an extra £1 million, and our intent to our staff and our volunteers to make our green spaces, our country parks, not just a place to relax, to enjoy, to take in nature and peace and calm, but also to have play there, and also to enhance our biodiversity. All of those things are therefore really important, and that's why we do believe very strongly in continuing to invest in our green spaces for residents, for visitors, and for our economy as a whole. Now, I can confirm that officers from the Council's Countryside Service have recently visited the site and consider that a scheme to make this green space that you refer to accessible to the general public, and it would be an excellent addition to the Council's Parks Improvement Programme. So work has begun to review the scope of the improvement works required to bring the green space into public use as a community park. to include tree planting, grounds maintenance activity, paths network, seating, litter bins and so on. So I can therefore confirm that a proposed scheme for the creation of a community park will be subject to a public consultation in the autumn or early winter of 2024, and it is our intention to create a new community park that it can be opened for the public to enjoy in the spring of 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Castle, do you have a supplementary
No,
question?
I'm absolutely delighted with that answer. We even got a date. I can't ask for more. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Councillor Castle. Our second question is for Councillor Bourne, and this is to Councillor Riddell.
Thank you, Chair. This is a subject dear to all councillors' hearts. This is obviously we have had strange weather. Don't be fooled by the last couple of weeks of almost summer, but we have experienced the wettest winter and probably spring and summer before that since we think about 1837, according to some records. This has led, inevitably, due to the conditions, to an increasing number of potholes in our county's roads. Could Councillor Riddle outline the response of the County Council to this unprecedented pressure on the maintenance of our road network? Thank you.
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Councillor Bourne. Yes, it has been an extremely wet period. I know that as a farmer, but it's actually been the wettest on record for almost 200 years, as you alluded to. But, you know, we've also had named storms like Storm Babette, and we've had snow events and frost and freeze events in November and December. And these repeated frost and freeze events do a lot of damage to the highway network. But, you know, because the ground on farmland, etc., was so wet, we had significant runoff and flooding as well. And this has all contributed to the damage. As a county council, we have a very robust financial management arrangements in place, and we have made financial provision through the severe weather reserve to enable us to respond quickly to these severe weather events. This winter, we've therefore drawn down £800,000 from the council's severe weather reserve, and a further £550,000 is spent to respond to the damage and disruption caused by Storm Babette alone, with a further £250,000 being drawn down to address the increased numbers of potholes and drainage issues across the entire network this winter period. In addition to delivering, as you know, the £26 million local transport capital programme, which entails major capital investment in the maintenance and improvement of our network and footpaths, this year our medium-term financial plan therefore includes an additional investment of almost £4.5 million of our own capital to deliver an enhanced programme of resurfacing and structural patching works on UNC roads and footways. It also includes a further investment of additional £2.5 million of NCC capital funds for a pothole repair programme that uses longer structural patching repair techniques. This follows the trials that we did earlier in the year, which we think were very successful. This repair programme is being targeted to repair those short lengths of carriageway where there have been repeated pothole defects within small areas, so that we can improve the asset condition and avoid having to return to repeated defects, and also improve the ride quality and condition of the roads. It's also my intention to seek further significant in-year investment to address damage caused to the network over the winter by the severe amount of water that we've had on the roads. Therefore, you know, I hope that we can increase mechanical sweeping and gully cleansing activity and clear the large amounts of soil and grit and debris that have inevitably washed into the gullies and onto the sides of the road. I think we all know that we've had quite a lot of money in the capital programme for highways for a long time, but we have been lacking in the revenue side of the budget. So this is a direct action that I'm hoping we can take in the very near future to draw some more money down to tackle drainage issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Riddle. Councillor Bourne, have you a supplementary question, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Riddle. That's very reassuring to see the amount of effort, the amount of additional funding put into this issue, which is a major issue to my residents, I'm sure the residents of councils across the county. Can I have your assurance, Councillor Riddle, that you will continue to prioritise the maintenance of our road network and continue to prioritise delivering repairs where needed across the county, as we have done? I have seen personally the improvement in the roads in the last few years up until the weather conditions we've seen. So we need to get back to that improvement which we saw very recently under our administration. Are you going to give me an assurance that we're going to continue to concentrate on this issue, which causes concern to many, many of our residents? Thank you.
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you. Yes, I can confirm that will be the case, Councillor Bourne, and I think I have the full cabinet backing behind me. We do know that, the condition of the roads is a major issue for the general public, and, I know from the number of reports we're getting on Fix My Street that we are getting a reduced number of complaints now, so we are actually making progress. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Slightly longer questions and answers that we probably would have liked, but thank you for that. Councillor Murphy, you have a question to Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. Can I ask Councillor Renner-Thompson what Northumberland schools are doing in respect of the known damaging effects of young people having almost unlimited access to smartphones and the resultant harm this is doing to their physical and mental health? The Education Secretary has issued guidance to schools dated February 2024 to enable them to navigate this tricky issue. Where are Northumberland schools at in reviewing their school policies in light of this? For context, 97% of children have a smartphone by the age of 12, and 46% of young people report being online almost constantly. This has a harmful impact on their sleep, their cognition, their ability to socialise and their ability to concentrate. The industry has failed to act responsibly despite knowing the harmful effects of their products on immature brains. So it is even more important that those of us who directly care for children take some responsibility for this public health issue.
Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy, for your very pertinent question. There's been an awful lot of research done on the impact of mobile phones on young people and their mental health. And I agree with you that there needs to be more research done, and we need to see more done in our schools and with our young people. When I was at school, I had a phone, but it just did texts and phone calls. You couldn't go on the internet with it. You couldn't do anything else with it. So we've been through and checked with our schools. So the council doesn't create policies for our schools. Our schools are operationally independent. They're run by their governing bodies and their senior leadership teams. And when it's with the academy schools, they're run by those people with another layer of trust on top. We've been through and checked. All of them have the correct policies in place, and they have, as part of the IT and PSHE curriculums, this issue. But it's something that does need to be monitored, I think, going forward. The guidance from the Secretary of State was only earlier this year, but it's something we need to keep a good eye on.
Thank you, Councillor Renner-Thompson. Councillor Murphy, do you have a secondary question?
Just brief supplementary. Can I ask that schools are encouraged to bring parents on board with this? It's a lot easier for parents if school make rules and then children can't negotiate around, well, so-and-so's parent allows them to do this. So if the schools can be encouraged to bring parents on board in policy making. Thank you.
Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Well, you've opened a can of worms there, because the most governing bodies, in fact all governing bodies, have spaces for parent governors on them, and they struggle to fill those spaces. So while I would love parents to get more involved in the governance of schools, we do have issues with recruiting parent governors, but I absolutely understand from my own email inbox, if a teacher confiscates a child's phone, one person thinks that's a good thing, another parent might think that's a bad thing. So it's a very delicate balance to bring.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hill, you have a question also for Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Staff at Berwick, Tweedmouth and Glendale middle schools have recently been on strike. Do you accept that they have legitimate grievances?
Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Councillor Hill, for your question. So there are 6 unions, teacher unions operating within the Berwick Partnership of Schools. Within that, 2 of them are on strike, the NASUWT and the NEU. And it's only those members within those 3 middle schools which are taking action. If we go back to the original consultation around 3-tier and 2-tier, the 2 middle schools in Berwick certainly have always been opposed to their closure. However, the middle school in Wooler requested their own closure. They requested their own closure actually before this process began, but we asked them to hold on and wait so we could do it all in one go. So I'm going to have to read this one out because, as you know, these negotiations are partially confidential and very sensitive, so I don't want to get this wrong. The school governing bodies, who are the employers, with support from the local authority, are working with the unions and staff to gain permanent, appropriate employment for all by September 2026. We still have over 2 years to achieve this aim. These processes include recruitment to the new school in Berwick, redeployment to other appropriate posts and retraining. If following these processes, anyone remains without a post, other pathways, including voluntary redundancies, will be explored, and that's a key change that's brought about the cancelling of strike action that was due today. The local authority have kept all 6 involved unions informed about all of the above processes and protocols, including over 100 emails, and have been in bi-weekly contact with all the unions since April. We meet the 2 unions taking direct action weekly. Our most recent consultations have led to these unions suspending their action and recognising that progress has been made.
Thank you, Councillor Brenner-Thompson. Councillor Hill, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Chair. I would just say it's quite difficult to do a supplementary when your original question hasn't been answered. So maybe in future you could help ask the portfolio holders to answer the question that's actually been asked. Just to pose it again, do you accept that last May staff at the middle schools were given assurances about jobs, and what has transpired is that they were, I put my language diplomatically, misled, and there's been a spectacular failure to have a meaningful engagement with them, and these staff have therefore lost 4 days so far of pay because they haven't been involved in the consultation, and they have been treated disgracefully.
I will bring Councillor Brenner-Thompson back. I think obviously you're going to use certain language with things in negotiations.
So there were 2 grounds given for strike action. One was possible redundancies and one was a lack of consultation. We at the Council do not agree that there has been a lack of consultation. There's been huge amounts of consultation. This particular round of negotiations on the future of the schools started in 2021. We can go back even further than that. My predecessor held a meeting in the ballroom at the Blue Bell in Belford, where all the schools unanimously said at the time that they didn't want any further changes, but they were looking at something in the future. So there has been huge amounts of consultations. The unions have been involved at every aspect of those consultations. The Council have never hidden anything. At every single meeting with senior leadership team and governing bodies of the schools, they have been told exactly what was going to happen. The unions have been involved in those meetings. So we do not accept that there's been a lack of consultation around this process, but of course people are allowed to strike over potential job losses if that is their wish.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Right, our final question is from Councillor Ball to Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you, Chair. At a recent public consultation for the Portland Park development, we've seen the grand plan for levelling up as a new patch of grass in a public realm space with a tree on Grand Corner. What guarantees can I have for the residents of Ashington that the plan is still to develop the site, and what are the ongoing costs to maintain the green space while we wait for interested parties?
Thank you for that. Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Ball. The plan for levelling up in Ashington is, of course, much more significant than that. You have the new railway line, which will soon be operating later this summer. You have the work that's going on with Ashington College, a close to £50 million new facility on land in the town centre, exactly where it should be. so that it can be easily accessed by people in terms of education in the town, but coming to the town as well. I think that's, I hope that you agree, a fantastic addition to Ashington. You have, in addition, the work that's going on as part of the town deal funding that was provided to us at Wandsbeck Square and at Grand Corner. So there's a significant amount of work going on that's been consulted on. We had, how many was it? 450 people that came in through the doors of our consultation. We were listening to the feedback that we got from that. I think there was everything that I saw online and everything that I've seen that's come back from residents has been welcoming the vast majority of what we're proposing as a good thing for Ashington, and I'm sure that you will feel the same way. I could add to that the plans in terms of the Hurst master plan work, something that should have been taken on by councils of all different persuasions in previous years and has been grasped by this administration, and we will take that forward in the years to come collectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wearmouth. Councillor Ball, I suspect you have a supplementary?
I concur with Councillor Hill. I don't appear to have had an answer to my first question. Not a problem. So I have had no guarantees to the people of Ashington that the development of the green space, which is what was, it's in black and white here, I haven't had an answer to that question. So what guarantees do I have for the people of Ashington? And if you would like my supplementary, a green space for levelling up, why couldn't you have done this beforehand? Because I'm a little bit confused that surely that could have been done instead of leaving a hole in the centre of the town for so long. If you could answer that first question first, Councillor Wearmouth, and then if you can let me know, why couldn't you have done a patch of grass? That'll probably not be maintained. Thank you.
Councillor Wearmouth.
Councillor Ball, thank you for your supplementary, and just to revisit the bit of the first question, ultimately the council own the land and the council will maintain the space until otherwise agreed with anybody else. I would have thought that was entirely logical and self-explanatory, and you shouldn't need to be told that, but I understand that that's what your question was focused on. To make sure that I wasn't misunderstood in terms of you describe something to do with green space, of course green space is important in the town. I think that you missed the bit about the 45 million for the college, which is a massive investment, the tens of millions of pounds that have brought the railway back to the community after years of empty promises. Now you've actually got it there. The work on Wandsbeck Square, all of that activity and the aspirations for the Hurst, it's a fantastic opportunity for Ashington and one that I know that you'll look forward to being realised. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wearmouth. There was, if we can keep sort of quiet when people are asking the questions and when the councillor is answering questions. I know it's not like you, Councillor Dickinson, to sort of murmur things, but if we can keep that, it's just a bit of politeness to the person who's asking the question and the person who's answering.
I didn't actually say anything, but I'm happy to if you would.
Thank you, Scott. No, thank you, Scott. Scott, I know you are a well-renowned raconteur and after-dinner speaker, but we'll keep off that for the moment. Item agenda number 8, report of the chair. Sorry, we're on item 7. Agenda item 7, which is the leader's annual report. And I'd like to invite the leader, Councillor Sanderson, to present his report.
Thank you very much, members. Good afternoon. You'll see, I'm sure you've read this report. You'll see there are 10 sides. I'm only going to speak for about 3 or 4 per side. I hope that's okay. Making maybe half an hour, but I'm sure you've all got time to spare this afternoon. So I hope that's okay with everyone. I want to begin, as I'm going to end, by saying none of the things I'm going to talk about today would have been possible without the staff that we have working for the council. And to them, I thank each and every one, from the chief executive and the team down to our newest apprentice. We could not have achieved this huge amount of work without that commitment. And they've helped us to deliver on our 3 key priorities. The first one around tackling inequalities, and this is a priority we are taking seriously and genuinely. We can't make an equal society in Northumberland. We cannot make a child born in one town have the same opportunities as a child born in a different town. We can't make someone born in a town that are going to expect to live to 70 to be able to live to 80 like someone else born in a different town. We can't do that on our own, but we can make a very big effort and spend significant time and resource in doing the best that we can. So that is why this is one of our 3 key priorities, and we are getting there. The launch of our new county partnership, which will be announced soon, will bring together leading figures from across the piece in Northumberland to help us draw together all those strands that are necessary to promote, to help, and to guide young people in particular on their pathway to life. We are very lucky to have the partnership working that we have, and I thank Jill O'Neill in particular for a team that she has brought together, plus all the volunteers and all the voluntary organisations, many of which you yourselves are involved with. So thank you to you as well, those of you that are involved in these voluntary and community partnerships, for helping us deliver on this genuine attempt to help people who need our help the most. And then finally, I'm very grateful for our skills training. We know that we're helping hundreds of young people learn a trade, to grow confidence, to be able to move on, to get a job, and to build their lives. We know we are helping hundreds of people. And our new welding centre, if you haven't seen that in Blythe, please go and have a look at it. It is fantastic. I think it's oversubscribed. Great. So we're doing that as well. So all of these actions together mean that we are making real progress. On driving economic growth, our second priority, we know about NEP3, we know about the large investment that's coming into the northeast, we know about our new investment and endowment fund that will build over the years to give us enough money to be able to invest even more in industry, even more in growth, even more in jobs, even more in confidence and growth within our county. But we're not stopping there. As we speak, we are working together with our colleagues and with our officers to pull together new parcels of land that will offer great opportunities for the future. The Northumberland line is due to open soon. This is a partnership between the Department for Transport, Network Rail, Northern, and ourselves. It's been an incredible feat. It's faced huge engineering challenges, huge ground condition challenges, inflation, COVID, you name it, but it is going to open soon. And it will bring that line that we've been talking about opening for 60 years, open again to passengers. And whatever your politics are, you can't deny that this is going to be good for the people of South East Northumberland in particular, for our residents and for our tourists. We're seeing progress with our Borderlands town deals in Prudhoe, in Newbiggin, in Berwick, Bedlington, and we are going to keep the pressure on to make sure that that process delivers. It's not a quick process, we know that. It's not under our control, but we will continue to push for progress on that. And of course, as Richard has mentioned, we have had millions and millions and millions of pounds coming from the south up to the north here. Again, whatever your politics is, you can't deny that we are seeing work in Blythe and Ashington, for example, that we have talked about for decades, but now here we are, delivering on it. And that's got to be a good thing. And we've got to all be proud, each and every one of us, that we've got more money being invested in Northumberland than at any time in the history of this county council. Whether you agree with our politics or not, that has got to be surely a good thing for our people. And finally, on value for money, something that's incredibly important, we must deliver for people in this county value for money. And that's what we're doing by protecting our frontline services. Yes, we've had a windy time for spraying weeds. We've had a wet time for cutting grass. We've had significant sickness, but we are back on the job, and we are going to continue to protect frontline services. We have just announced our environment policy and our climate change action plan, a hugely important and complex piece of work, which I'm sure you will all read and follow with interest. And to underline our commitment to the environment, we are spending £5 million on our own, £5 million to clear up Blindmouth Beach. Again, something that has been an eyesore for a long time, but we will get this cleared up and it will be back to the way it should be soon. £5 million the County Council spending. And we continue to offer free town centre car parking because it helps our businesses. We know that. It helps people to pop into town and get their shopping, and it's a boon for our visitors. And they regularly say how grateful they are that they can come and shop in town for effectively nothing. So, roads and pavements, we know. Councillor Riddle has already explained how much more money we're spending on our landslips and the damage that's been caused by Arwen, by Babette, and by the wettest winter we've had for nearly 200 years. We are working on that, we are getting there, and we will continue to work on that. We've honoured our local heroes, as the Chair said. We have celebrated our Love Northumberland Award winners in another brilliant ceremony at Alnwick Gardens. And we have paid tribute to our D-Day heroes at an extraordinary event in Blythe recently. Our leisure portfolio, members, our leisure portfolio is second to none. And if you compare what we have and what our offer is in Northumberland to other councils, you will see that that is the case. And it's especially pleasing that in Berwick, for example, in Berwick, we see that there are 365,000 visits when before there were less than 200,000. We see that there are a doubling of people taking fitness classes. This is all good, not just for value for money, but also for tackling inequalities, because we have the ability for people to come in and take exercise at reduced fees. And that is always a good thing. And of course, don't forget that beside this beautiful leisure centre in Berwick, and I'm sure all the Berwick members will constantly say how wonderful this is, free car parking. Free car parking. So, all in all, with our super school programme that we know that we're very proud about, that we're making it quite clear that we will continue to invest in our schools, just the same as looking after our SEND and cared for children. They're just as important. We know, all of you know, how much the cost of helping them has risen. And we are working on investment plans strongly now to see how we might move forward with that. So, to sum up, none of this, members, would be possible without our staff. So I want to say thank you to all of them. I also want to say thank you to our trade union colleagues who do a great job here in the County Council. The calm officer-member relationship, the teamwork, is a pleasure to work in. And that allows good decision-making and consensual decision-making as we go along. And of course, it was recognised, as you know, by the peer review team who said we should be proud of our achievements. So to conclude, our three priorities, members. Building for the future means jobs and growth right across the county, so that we will open up our borders for new jobs wherever people may come to work. By genuinely tackling inequalities, we will build confidence in those people who most need our help going forward. And finally, our drive to ensure value for money, whether it's in leisure, in schools, our parks, our roads, shows we care for the county, and we will continue to do everything we possibly can to make this county the best in Britain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sanderson. Do we have any questions? Right. Councillor Hill, Councillor Robinson and Councillor Reid. And Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Chair. Two very quick questions, if I may. The first is, I like the leader's response to my piece of non-political but just honest feedback. I've been a councillor now for 7 years, and over the last year or two, getting answers to questions, progress on major projects is getting slower and slower. And that's the honest feedback that I've had and from other bodies, work with like town council, so on, things have got slower. I'll give you one example, just one example. The new school in Berwick, it won't be ready for the start of the two-tier system. So the feedback, your response to my feedback and honest feedback is things have got slower. A lot of staff morale in certain departments
Is there a
very
question
low.
there, Councillor Hill, please?
What's your response to my feedback? And the second question is, you mentioned about equality, how important equality is. I wonder if you've had any time to consider my request that the council should call a housing emergency.
Councillor Sanderson.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. My answer to your first question is that I do not know why you find it difficult to get answers to all the work that we are doing in terms of our regeneration projects. I do not understand that. There is a regular newsletter that goes to members outlining what we do. There are regular scrutiny meetings, there are regular cabinet meetings that underline all the work that we are doing. As I said before, we are spending more in the county now than at any time in the past. So, for example, you know, the projects that are taking place in Berwick are unheard of in terms of scale and size. So I can understand why, with so much going on, you might find it difficult to actually pinpoint a specific project in amongst them all. But if you want the detail, I just don't understand why you can't get it. In terms of housing emergency, well, we know that, for example, we have delivered, well, we said in 2017 that we would deliver 1,000 council houses working with partners. We haven't. We haven't delivered 1,000. We've almost delivered 2,000. So, thank you. So, you know, all I can say to you is, whilst the people of Berwick are getting the service they deserve, the assets, the assets and the attention that they deserve. And now I look forward to Councillor Reid's question with great.
Thank you for that, Chair. Could we, councillors, could we keep the questions they should relate to this report? Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. Leaving the report, you've said you've had 500 good quality applicants for apprenticeships. I've got two questions very quickly, which is excellent, seems very good. Do you know how many were successful? And my second question, obviously, is about the Bedlington train station, which you make several references to. What I want is an assurance that the 34 trains a day that are going to run along that line are not going to impinge on the delivery of that train station.
Those are really good questions. Normally, when I get asked a question I don't know the answer to, I say I don't know the answer, but I'll come back to you. So, on the first one, I can't give you that answer. I know how many we are helping through our skills training, but I can't give you the exact number of successful ones. But I will write to you in the next 48 hours and tell you. In terms of getting Bedlington Station open and running, that is all going according to plan. It is all my understanding is that the timescales are the same, so it should be up and running, available for use next year as part of the stage progress that we're making on the station. So there shouldn't be any problem, I'm sure, with getting that up and running.
Just worried about the term sure. I am sure. I'd like some more assurance on it, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Reid.
Thanks, Chair. Right, so basically it is actually a question. Value for money. You bang on about value for money constantly, and yet for the past 5 years our external auditors have refused to sign the accounts off because they have no assurance that we are delivering value for money. So, why?
Councillor Sanderson.
That's another good question. I'm trying to catch our Chief Finance Officer's eye, but what I'm going to say is I do not know the answer. Is that okay? I don't know the answer. I can make one up, but I'm not going to do that. Can I write you in 48 hours with the answer? Sorry, just one second. Richard has been dealing with our financial.
I think that one of us is willing to answer that.
That's what I was about to say, but with the chair's permission, obviously.
With the chair's permission, can I ask an expert to answer the question?
Jan, please.
Oh, yes, of course. So rare to actually speak at council meetings. So the external auditors provide two opinions. One is on the financial statements themselves. We have 3 years of financial statements which have not yet been signed off due to delays as a result of national issues around infrastructure and also pension valuations. And the Audit Committee have had regular updates on the progress of those issues from the external auditor. They also issue a value for money opinion, and again, we are waiting for the value for money opinion for the last 3 years' accounts. The value for money opinion takes account of a wide range of issues. It's not just about the state of our finances and the accuracy of the accounts, but also looks at a wide range of governance issues. And as members will be well aware, we have had to work through some really significant governance issues over the last couple of years. The expectation is that all of those issues will be resolved in time for the July Audit Committee, and at that point I am hopeful, although not absolutely sure, Councillor Robinson, if I can use that word, because it's not within my hands, that the external auditor will issue the audit completion certificates and the value for money opinion. The expectation, however, is that the value for money opinion will be qualified when it is issued on the basis of the governance weaknesses that have previously been reported to the Council. So I hope that's helpful to everybody, Chair.
Thank you for that, Jan.
I feel I'm allowed to come back to that, if you don't mind. So what we've been told is for 3 years it's in the system, but the previous 2 years seem to have been completely forgotten about, so whatever. Can I just ask the leader, therefore, next time he's talking about value for money, will he caveat that at the beginning? You believe that the council value for money, but we have not got the assurance of the external auditor that we have. So that would be my request from now on. Every time the leader talks about value for money, can he just say, oh, by the way, that's my opinion, it's not the external auditor.
Okay, Councillor Reid, I'll give you a little bit of leeway there, but I will allow the leader to come back in.
Well, I can't guarantee I'll use those words. I'm absolutely convinced that the council taxpayer in Northumberland gets significant value for money for their council tax. I've run through the list and I won't bore you again with that list again. But compared to other councils, especially similar councils to ours, we provide a much wider range of services, much better quality services, and investment of a scale that has not been seen anywhere, certainly in this county, for a decade, and certainly not when you were leader.
Thank you for that. Excuse me, Councillor Reid, thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Nearly missed me slot there. Leader, you know what I'm going to talk about, don't you? Inequalities. And I was really quite surprised with the question 1 today from Councillor Castle and the response that you gave him, which was about developing some ground into a park. I've asked repeatedly over the last year for funding for the woodland behind the police station in Bedlington, attached to Gallagher Park, where we had Storm Arwen. Councillor Riddle and I walked through it. It was in a really bad state, and it still is in a bad state, and I've asked for funding
to try and put this right for the last year and a half and being told there is no funding available. And then I'm sitting here listening to a request from Councillor Castle, and you're very cheerfully saying, yes, we've got this money, yes, we're going to make it happen, and yes, you can have it. What is the difference between what Councillor Castle's asking for and what I'm asking for in Bedley?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. We are trying to keep related to the report. Councillor Sanderson.
Well, no, I'm happy to answer the question. I'm happy to answer the question. The answer is there is no difference. And if there is a problem getting funding, I'll need to know, if you can just drop me a quick email, which you do on relatively regular occasion, drop me a quick email with the details, and I will pick it up with John Riddle.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Dunn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm really pleased, as Councillor Sanderson will know, about the works going on at Linemouth. But will Councillor Sanderson agree with me that we need at this point to recognise the significant input that was put in from colleagues from NIFCA and the Rivers Trust, who worked along with the parish councillors and Councillor Dickinson and myself to actually kick this off in the first place? Because, you know, and they brought this issue to the forefront, it hit the press, and until that point there was no prior interventions. In fact, this council was hesitant to put any money in. So I'm really pleased that it is in, but will Councillor Sanderson agree with me that we should be thanking those NIFCA and the Rivers Trust and other colleagues who work towards this? And I've got to come back in support of Councillor Taylor. I had no intention to speak on this today, but about the parks issue, I would suggest, and this has been a complaint that my husband has had this morning, get to the QE2 park at Ashington and tidy that up, because honestly you put new seats in and you can't sit on them for the weeds and the net underneath them. So before you start with new parks, let me get the maintenance of the ones in order. Thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
Right, so two questions. The first one is, we have spent money at QE2 Park because we said we would. I don't know what the situation is about the weeds and nettles there, but I will ask that we investigate those as a matter of priority, and that will be done. I'm always happy to celebrate good news with anyone, and I would be, of course, happy to thank everyone who has played a part in making sure that the County Council have actually dug deep into its pocket for £5 million to actually rectify a situation that really should never have been created in the first place. So it's a great thing to be doing for the environment, for the area, and I'm always happy to celebrate with anyone and say thank you, of course, to people who have helped raise matters. So thank you for your question.
Councillor Swinburne.
Thank you, Chair. This question, Glenn, kind of intersection between climate change, inequalities and cost of living. So page 27.9, bullet point 5, said we've installed quite a few new EV charge points, which is good news. And I know that the kind of funding for that particularly aims to put those charge points at on-street locations where people don't have places to park their cars off-street. So what I'm wondering is, the question is really, could we create a residence EV tariff? The problem is that the council's EV chargers, as many councillors will know, cost 57 pence per kilowatt hour to use. I have an off-street place to park my car and I pay 30 pence overnight, less than 10 pence per kilowatt hour. So this is actually quite a big barrier to people who want to move to an EV and are having to use these on-street chargers. So I'm wondering whether there's something in the realm of the possible for residents to have access to a reduced tariff to level up that discrepancy.
Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you. Is this something that Councillor Riddle might like to answer in his portfolio?
Well, yeah, you put us on the spot really, because it's not something that we've investigated yet, but it's something that we can look at.
Okay, so if I follow up on that, so I wasn't being flippant. I thought that we were, I think we're actually working quite closely with funding from the old North of Tyne Combined Authority. I think we've still got some funding that we're looking at spending on EV charging right now, but I'll need to check on that. Certainly, going forward with our role within NECA, with our role leading on coastal rurality and the environment, it is something that we will be very strong on ensuring that we do deliver more accessible and reasonably priced EV charging points. So it is something I'm sure in a year's time you will see a different dimension to. But I will talk to Simon Nielsen about this because I'm sure there is work going on now, but let me look at this and I will write to you as well. Okay?
Thank you. Councillor Riddle, if it's very quick.
Very quickly, just say yes, there is money for EV charging points still, but I don't know that there's money for reduced tariffs for residents. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. I have two more questions which I'm going to allow, one from Councillor Hunter and one from Councillor Flux.
Thank you, Leader. Hopefully a straightforward question for you. Hopefully these reports are proofread before we receive them. Page 27.8, we agreed an ambitious new environment policy statement in October 24. And page 22, 7.18, in October 24, we appointed Deloitte. It's quite interesting because we've not got to October 24 yet.
Councillor Sanderson.
Yeah, no, well, you know, this is democracy. This is all about setting an agenda, being very careful that all the English and all the spelling and all the grammar is correct, and then finding something to put in that someone will notice, and then whoever notices gets a prize. So you get the prize, and you can help put leaflets out in Morpeth this afternoon as a special.
What's the prize?
We did have one other councillor who indicated they wanted to speak. Councillor Flux is not speaking. He's withdrawn his question. So, if you would like to answer your question, ask your question. No. Not you, Scott. Wilcox. Yourself.
Oh, it was me. Goodness, I just said democracy, and then I got invited in, and I got all confused, and you know.
Scott.
Here we are.
Normally, Scott, you're not shy. You normally put your hand up.
I did, Chair, but I'm going to take it as Specsavers afterwards. So, will the leader agree with me that leaders' reports, and I'd like the Chair to clarify this afterwards. He can write to us afterwards if he wishes, just to clarify that this is actually annual, because I feel like you say these things in a report every month in a different way. Over and over again, and fantastic news, lots of it's fantastic news, and we'd love to hear it, but let's not have it every month in a different way, because Mrs. Sanderson must be furious having to listen to your rehearsals in the mirror all the time. So, in terms of the report though, in terms of the contents of the report, there are lots of things in here that relate to lots of partners and lots of external organisations like schools and others who are doing incredibly well, and we all thank them for that. But does the leader not think that these reports should have a little bit of honesty in them for the public around the challenges for the future? And I think Councillor Reid did mention this last year, or last month it might have been, because that might have been another annual report on something else. But the important thing is that we recognise there are challenges, and we can paint and we can showcase all the wonderful things that are happening, because there are lots of wonderful things happening. But should we have a little bit of a more meaty, robust area in the report on the challenges ahead? And then the second part of the question is on two really important points of the corporate plan around tackling inequalities and driving economic growth. And my question's simple. On Friday morning, will he still recognise the new government's input?
Councillor Scott, Councillor Dickinson, I can't I'll give you an answer. It is an annual report. I'm positive. Councillor Sanderson, would you like to...
No, not really, no.
Tell them not to cancel the A1.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's not talk about politics, 'cause we're not here. We're not here to talk about politics. So I'm glad you like our reports, and they are all very sound and solid. And I'm glad you picked that up. And I'm glad you're with us on all the work that is going on. It is a great great pleasure to me that this council is leading the county forward in such a professional, calm way. I respect what you say about should we talk more about the challenges, and I think that's something that actually I would look to scrutiny to pick up more on. I haven't actually been asked to come to a scrutiny committee, I don't think, to actually talk about what are the key challenges that are coming. What are you doing about this? What are you doing about? Are you going to deliver all the regeneration projects? How are you going to manage with the with the financial issues? So I'm open to doing that, and I'd be more than happy to do that within a scrutiny context. That might be a way to do it. But in the meantime, in terms of Friday, well, who knows?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are going now on to item 8 on the agenda, the report of Chair of Staff and Appointments Committee, the appointment of Deputy Chief Officer, Director of Children, Young People and Families. I would like to invite Councillor Wearmouth, as he chaired that committee on that occasion, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair. Lots of wonderful things happening. I can see a video clip later on the internet, I'm sure. Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. I'll just go straight to the recommendations of these reports because you've had the chance to read them. They are very straightforward. The first one, the recommendations are at section 3 of the report, and the recommendation to Council is to accept the recommendations in turn of the Staff and Appointments Committee held on the 29th of May 2024, and that the preferred candidate that is Victoria MacLeod be appointed to the role of Directors of Children, Young People and Families. I propose that, those recommendations. Thank you, Councillor Sanderson. Seconded.
Right, we have a proposer and seconder. Do we have any questions for clarification? Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Chair. Is it possible to separate the two issues to vote on? Yes. The salary separate from the person? Okay.
Councillor Murphy, for the avoidance of any doubt, the recommendations are as written out in the report. The salary and the person are one and the same. That is the recommendation that's coming to you from Staff and Appointments Committee for your approval. And because it's over a particular sum, that is why it has come here to full council rather than being dealt with by Staff and Appointments.
We have a proposer which I believe is Councillor Wearmouth, the seconder which is Councillor Sanderson. Can we... Is it a question, Councillor Hill? Clarification? For clarification?
Yeah, a question of clarification. Could you just confirm, is this a new post or is it a replacement?
Sure. Councillor Wearmouth.
It's a replacement post. Yes.
Right, we've had a proposer, seconder. Can we go to the vote, please? All those in favour? All those against? And the abstentions? That's carried. Of the Staff and Appointments Committee, appointment of Deputy Chief Officer, Director of Commissioning and Performance. Again, I would like to ask Councillor Wearmouth, as he chaired this committee on this occasion, to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. And again, as per the last report, I'll remain brief for this one. The recommendations in this report, again, are provided in section 3, at 3.1 and 3.2, in terms of the individual, that is Philip Howells, and he will be appointed with your consent to the role of Director of Commissioning and Performance, and the salary is identified in section 3.2, and is the reason that it is coming to you for consent because of the thresholds involved. Thank you.
Thank you,
and I propose that.
Thank you, Councillor Wearmouth. Do we have any questions for clarification? No. Could we have a seconder, please? Councillor Sanderson has seconded. Can Can we put this to a vote? All those in favour? All those against? And abstentions? That's carried, thank you. 10, which is a report of the leader, corporate performance report. And I'd like to invite Councillor Sanderson to present this report.
Thank you very much. Members, this is for information. We are bringing it to Council so that there is complete transparency in sharing the performance indicators that we are currently using. This will be the last time we use this set of performance indicators, and we're working on a new set which will go to group leaders and we will have a meeting to look at what we're proposing to go forward with group leaders, and we will take a decision then about which ones we want to include, which ones we might want to change, which ones we might want to drop. Now, some of these are quite out of date. For example, the one on affordable housing is using data, the figure there uses data from about 5 years ago and is not relevant to today, because as we know, our delivery of affordable housing is significantly better than over that period than this might demonstrate. So I'm not proposing to go into all of them, but I'm happy to take questions on individual ones if you would like. So that's the performance indicators. We've also added onto this report some information on offlog. This is something that, if you may recall, was raised at the last meeting, and so I thought it would be useful just to lay out for members' understanding why the recent Times story that picked some of the offlog figures was so misleading and wrong. You can see from those figures that we are actually improving on almost every one that offlog currently carry, which go back to 21-22. So the story is not, sadly for some, I guess, so negative. It is actually very much a positive story. We hope very much that cross-party we will do away with offlog, because we don't see necessarily the sense in that. And I would just underline, if I may, a recent Municipal Journal headline where every political group within the LGA wrote and said they despised this report and also the figures that offlog used. And interestingly, it even includes the independent group. So there's widespread anger about offlog, widespread disappointment about the way the figures were used, and we know why, because you cannot compare a district council and a borough council to a metropolitan council or a county council, because of the wide differences in services they provide. And that's why I've laid these out for you today, so you can see some of the figures and why they are misleading, so that hopefully we will, if we don't do away with offlog, then at least we will be able to persuade whoever that actually it's not necessary to have such an organisation. It's not necessary to carry these extra performance indicators when we can actually all do them perfectly well ourselves. So there we are. Any questions? Happy to take.
Thank you, Councillor Sanson. Do we have any questions? Councillor Dale, Councillor Morford, first two.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the report. I think taking account of all the indicators that we have, and obviously we're delivering services on behalf of the government, whichever government is going to be on Friday. But I think it's important that we are consistent about how we look at our key performance indicators, and actually we report consistently on them. So, for instance, there's something in here which says is glorious, but actually, for instance, in the risk assessment, risk register, it's highlighted as red, big red. So I think what we need to do is to ensure that everything works together, so our key performance indicators are agreed by not just the leaders of groups, but also the scrutiny committees, because they're the ones who actually have better knowledge of the services that are being delivered under their care. And so we would expect them to look that we all we have the government ones, and I think obviously those are the principal ones of what we are expected to deliver and at what level. It's up to the council to decide at what level we want to deliver, how much money we put into the delivery of those services. But we have to be very clear to the people, residents, why we're delivering at such a high level or why we're failing and don't want to deliver at a lower level. So there's a lot of clarity to have around this, and it's about performance all the way through, because the council wants to perform well. It's not seen all the way to be performing well, whatever people like to say. And I think the point being is, if you look at the key performance on page 44 and 45, you'll see quite a lot of red, and there's some there that actually have been in the red for a few years, especially the one about staffing ones, and I think employment rate, etc. And I think we need to grasp some of these red ones, go back, have a look at them at audit, and ask them to be looked at in clarity, because they are there for the public to see. These are all in the public domain, nothing's hidden. So I think it would be a good idea if we could bring everything together so everybody actually understands about how they all work.
Thanks.
Because a lot of people won't have
Thanks,
actually
Councillor
worked
Dale.
within key performance indicators.
Thanks, Councillor Dale. Councillor Sanderson.
Yeah, so I agree absolutely that scrutiny should play a role in deciding the legitimacy of the performance indicators and the targets that are set, because often the delivery and achievement of a performance indicator, it depends on the target and how stretched that target may be. So I think that's something that definitely scrutiny should look at. I would like to keep the performance indicators in the three priorities area, but I would like scrutiny, and actually Jill, who's leading on this, I think is very much of the view that once we get this discussion with group leaders, once we can come forward with an idea that we all agree, that should then go for more scrutiny by the scrutiny committee, by the scrutiny chairs, and divide them up, as you say, into the relevance for each scrutiny committee. That way, we can make sure that everyone, as you say, has a view of them and can challenge appropriately, say yes, well done, as appropriate, but also challenge when necessary.
Can I just add to that,
No,
please?
sorry, I've got other councillors waiting to ask questions. Councillor Morford.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the report, Glenn. It's good to hear that you are aware that the performance measures do need some work. I agree with you, and I just wanted to remind you that the group leaders were asked to comment on them in October, and I did provide you with a 4-page written comment on them, which I hope you've had a chance to read. That was on behalf of the Green Party. But if you haven't had a chance to read them, whether you have or not, I'm looking forward to sitting down and going through them with you as soon as I get the opportunity to.
Can I just answer that is being fed into Phil. Phil has seen that, and Phil and Jill are doing this work together. Yes, your views are taken into account. Thank you.
Yeah, councillors, if we can keep to the report and questions. We've got Councillor Dickinson and then Councillor Hill.
Twice, right. So I agree with you, Glenn. We've talked about this at group leaders already, and I have met with Philip and crew who interrogated me on my thoughts on the matters, which took an awful long time, I should say. Anyway, we do need to have key performance indicators that warrant what we can and can't change ourselves, that measure data that actually relates to this council, our services and performance, because otherwise what's the point? We continue to churn out things that are totally outside our control in terms of what we're monitoring. We continue to collect data that's utterly pointless and doesn't help the staff to improve anything. So I welcome this reset. I welcome the work that we're doing on it together, and the influence that we'll all be able to have on making sure that we monitor things that, are useful to the council. Otherwise, it costs money and it wastes time.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Sanderson, do you know? I have two more councillors which I'll allow to give a question. Councillor Hill and Councillor Grimshaw.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure that there is more work that can be done on these indicators, but what it does sound like is looking to change the goalpost because you're not happy with the report. If they found us to be the 18th best council in the country, not the 18th worst, I'm sure you would have said what you did. And regarding the LGA, full transparency, I've got a role with the LGA, but it is probably worth pointing out that the LGA do feel that Offaly could threaten the job they do, and obviously, including the independents, every political group of councils that have had damning reports. So the fact that they've joined in the criticism, I don't think, I think we need to take the pinch of salt. This is about people not being happy with indicators
Is there
and
a
the
question
findings.
there, Councillor
Well, other
Hill?
people have made a few points. I'm just making, so there is work to be done, but it's basically because you're not happy with the findings, as with other people within the LGA.
Can I
And
have
my
the question,
final point,
please?
one final point, because others have made points and
Can we
much
have the
longer.
question?
Other people have made, other
Councillor-
people have
Coun-
made points.
Councillor Hill.
Final point,
Councillor Hill.
question.
Question,
Do you
please.
not agree? I notice you're talking about scrutiny a lot. The scrutiny process would be a lot more robust if you had opposition members as chairing the scrutiny committees, not administration. Well, everyone else made
Councillor
points
Hill,
and a lot
please.
longer.
Please, Councillor Hill. Councillor Grimshaw.
May I just answer
Yes,
that
certainly
point,
can.
please, Chair? You're not, with respect, these are nothing to do about whether I like the results or not. Complete nonsense to suggest that. Actually, I'm incredibly proud of almost all of these. Incredibly proud, as you should be, as a member of this organisation. And so far as Offaly are concerned, you cannot compare a small urban district council with 4 or 5 miles of road with a county council with 3,200 miles of road. And if you do, you're going to get completely wrong figures. That's why even the independent group said this is nonsense and rubbish and shouldn't be looked upon. So whilst I understand where you're trying to come from, I completely disagree with you. You are, with respect, wrong, and you know, the best of best of luck. Thank you.
Right, the final, Councillor Hill, please. Councillor Grimshaw, the final question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, with regard to scrutiny and Councillor Dale's question, we do bring things up with scrutiny, but I do not agree with not being able to get the right answers to bring back to the full council. We scrutinise it, we have issues, we challenge, we have various...
Councillor Grimshaw, can we have a question on the report?
Yeah, well, sorry, but I mean, it's been a party political broadcast all this afternoon. You've all had your say, and because they're opposition members, you won't let, we can't have a say. So I'm sorry, but if you don't like it, it's tough, because I'm going to ask it.
Councillor Grimshaw, just a question, that's all.
Yeah, wait, but I know, but you are getting hackled, and you can talk forever, you lot, but when it comes to us, we are saying, cut it out, do this, do that. No, it's, you know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we should have as much courtesy as yourselves.
Sure,
Right.
before you go on, I give everybody the same amount of courtesy. All I'm
Well, I
asking
am,
is that can we have a question, please?
yes, but everybody's all had the build-up, including your party, so I'm just having my build-up. Now, all I'm saying, it is part of the question, that reports from scrutiny, it comes back to scrutiny when we go down and have deep dives, but unfortunately, because you've stopped it coming back to full council, other councillors cannot report on the findings. And therefore, when everything's wonderful, it actually isn't. So we need to bring this back to full council. You need to look at that and change it. So scrutiny can bring it back here, and then other members can challenge at the full council, because this to me just seems to be one-sided. We have reports and we can't comment on ridiculous reports that, as our leader said, comes back month after month after month, and people has lost the will to live to listen to them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Grimshaw. Councillor Grimshaw. Councillor Sanders.
I'm not Councillor Grimshaw. Much as I'd Lynn, I can't agree with you either, because you do have the right in scrutiny to bring forward any cabinet member, or me, or Richard, or anyone else, to answer any questions or challenge them over any performance indicator. You haven't done that to me, and I'm more than happy for you to do that anytime. So far as actually making sure that your recommendations are picked up, the role of the scrutiny officer is to make sure, and the chair, to make sure that all those recommendations are logged so that you can actually follow through what's happened. I know it can be time consuming, but the opportunity is there to make sure that your thoughts, your challenge are properly picked up. But in addition to that, we've recently introduced a new system where scrutiny can have regular reports to council. That's never happened before. And so that's another opportunity, I would say, that you've got to explain, to complain, or to praise how well things are going. And so you've got that opportunity, Lynn, and use it. That's all I would say.
Thank you. No, sorry, Councillor. Sorry, no. So we didn't let. Sorry, Councillor Grimshaw. I didn't allow Councillor Dale to come back. Sorry, Councillor Grimshaw.
Have some respect for the chair.
Councillor Grimshaw. Councillor Grimshaw, please. Don't want to fall out. Thank you. I like it too much to fall out with you. And you always give me sweets and things, so I can't fall out with you. Item 11 on the agenda, which is a motion proposed by Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to propose your
Yes, I will. I'll keep it very brief because I know Councillor Sanderson said he was leafleting or something. Last ditch attempt. Keep going. Anyway, this should be straightforward for everyone. Glenn, you go on and on and on and on about all the great things, and it's all because of the staff. Some worrying statistics came out over a long period of time where Unison and the TUC, all unions have come in with the data from their members that say on a regular basis they experience violence in the workplace, intimidation, bullying from often members of the public, other contractors, things like that. It has a charter that's been agreed by them all, and all I'm asking today, as outlined, I won't go through it, the 10 points that mean that this council can be charter status that says we care about our staff, we won't tolerate that type of behaviour, and I know that several of these things are already in place, so it should be quite a straightforward exercise, and I hope everyone can support it, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson, for proposing that. Second that. Councillor Sanderson.
I'll talk to Kia for you, don't worry.
It'll have to be before 6 o'clock. Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. We've had a proposer for the motion, Councillor Dickinson. We've had a seconder, Councillor Sanderson. We now move on to the debate. Is there any? Councillor Reid.
What? There isn't really anything you can challenge in this motion except this is one of the things I don't like about these. Insert council, name of council here, cut and paste. It's lazy. You know that there are some of these things on this list we already do. So what you should have done, Scott, was to personalise it and take those things out that we already do and acknowledge the work that our fine officers and our great members do, saying we are working towards making violence and intimidation in the workplace an absolute no-no. You could have tidied all this up, but you didn't. You've kind of just, I'll pull that off the internet and I'll stick it in, and we'll all agree on the day. It's just lazy. And I would have thought the next leader of the council could have done better than this. So I am going to vote for it because I'm going to vote for it because I know that some of you will take out of context. If I abstained or voted against it, it would be used as a stick with which to beat me with. And I object to that too. That is bullying and intimidation of the worst kind. The safety of our staff is absolutely paramount. There isn't anything more that we should be concentrating on. Coming to work in fearing that somehow you're going to come to physical harm, or you're going to be intimidated, or you're going to be bullied by anybody is absolutely not right. It's absolutely wrong. And I just don't think this is the way to highlight it, Scott. You should have sent it to scrutiny, or you should have whatever. We could have done a joint statement together. All 67 of us, or sorry, all 66 of us now, but all 66 of us would have happily signed that. We are behind the staff 100%. And whatever we're not doing on that list, start doing it tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Reid. Can we just remind councillors that you have 3 minutes to speak? Nothing. Right, Councillor Dodd.
Turn it on. Strange to hear from Councillor Reid, who for the last umpteen years has said motions are pointless. Sorry to mention pointless, Jeff, but maybe you should. Maybe there should be something in there after this settles down and whatever. Because I remember a few years ago I led on something about violence against councillors. And, you know, I think those who've been around a while will have noticed after COVID, you know, the behind the screen warriors, the language used and all that is not pleasant, and we've seen umpteen places where damage has really been done, you know, especially MPs. We've seen 2 or 3 really pay for it. So I think at some point that needs to be looked at, probably by scrutiny or whatever. So that's my point. In the future, it needs a look at. For Jeff, are you going to take the point that your national leader did and did it do a bungee jump? Because I'm sure we'd all chip in. No strings attached.
Councillor Dunn. Councillor Dunn. I think you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thanks, Chair. As a Unison member and actually a former chair of the Northumberland County branch, I fully endorse and support this motion. I'm afraid I don't agree with Councillor Reid. I want every one of those points to be itemised and in there. This has come from union negotiation with their members, ultimately our employees. So I think every point that they put in there is pertinent. And as Councillor Sanderson has said earlier, our staff are our biggest asset and resource. And this council must demonstrate that any sort of bullying or intimidation is just totally unacceptable. All workers must be afforded the best possible protection when it comes to well-being and safety at work. So I urge this council to ensure that they have applied for the Unison Violence at Work Charter Mark by the due date of December. It is the very least that our employees deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. The last 3, Councillor Purvis, Flux and Murphy. Councillor Purvis.
Can I just answer Jeff's query about taking things out? I think it's Unison's national charter, so you cannot take points out. You've got to sign up to the actual 10 points for the charter, Jeff. So you cannot like take number 2 or number 5, but you've got to gamble the whole lot, or then you're not signed up to the charter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Flux.
Thank you, Chair. I, for many years, was the chair of the Joint Consultative Committee with our very valued and very good trade union colleagues who I've enjoyed working with in that 7-year period. I've shared chairing duties with Peter Judd from one of the trade unions, and we've invited yourself, Councillor Purvis, to sit on that, which never used to happen with opposition members. Can I ask, did this go to the JCC? And if not, why didn't it go to the JCC? Because I think this would have been ideal to discuss in a manner between the unions and the management and leadership of this council. I'd thought that would be the ideal place for that to go to look into in even more finer detail. That said, I do 100% agree with the motion, but I think that surely would have been a place to do that in a professional, in a way that we could involve everyone from the unions and from management and from the leadership. And I just feel that would have been the best place to put this. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Flux. I mean, this is not for questions to the proposer, but your points will be noted. Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to say to reassure councillors, as somebody who was fairly recently an employee of Northumberland County Council, all of those are in place existingly. The only one I'm not sure about is the data and how it's shared with the trade union. We have robust loan working policies. They are implemented by senior managers and overseen by senior managers. Measures are taken to ensure that staff don't work in isolated buildings. We really are on top of all of this. To get the charter, I accept we might need to be able to tick them all off formally, but just to reassure, we do look after our staff. And all of these policies are already active in Northumberland. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Murphy. You've heard the proposer, the motion. It's been seconded by Councillor Sanderson. You've heard the debate. We now go to the vote. Can we have... Sorry.
Just quickly sum up then for your Chair so you can move on to your vote. I'm pleased that we're all on the same page. Councillor Reid, Councillor Purvis answered you. You need all 10 to be monitored and checked to get the charter status. It's something the council should be proud of when it gets it. I have no doubt that we can achieve it, and it will be. In terms of the Joint Consultative Committee, all those unions on there have played a role in this and accepted it, and I think that's where this should be monitored, because it's got the council management team on as well as the union reps, and it says quite clearly in there that it needs to be monitored and checked by somebody before it goes to the charter status. So if the leaders agreed, it should probably go there.
Thank you for that. Now we will go to the vote. Can we have all those in favour, please? And all those against? And abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I think one or two people will be rushing out to do certain things. The tea and coffee will be here next month, and that is the meeting. Thank you.